Welcome to Teltronic.
There are moments that change the way you think forever. Moments where you realize how vulnerable you really are when you're the only person in the house. The stories you're about to hear aren't about ghosts or demons. They're about ordinary people. And the terrifying realization that sometimes the biggest danger isn't outside your home. Sometimes it's already closer than you think. I used to think the safest place in the world was my own home. That changed the night I realized someone had been inside my house while I was sleeping. This happened when I was 20 years old. My parents were away for a week, and I was staying alone in our house outside of town. It wasn't a huge house, but it was surrounded by trees, and the nearest neighbor was several minutes away. During the day, it was peaceful. At night, it was different. The kind of quiet where every small sound feels louder than it should. For the first few days, everything was normal. I went to work, came home, made dinner, watched TV, and locked the doors before going to bed. Nothing strange happened until Thursday. I came home from work and immediately noticed something was wrong. The back door was unlocked. I always locked it before leaving. My parents were extremely strict about that because the backyard was hidden from the road. At first, I assumed I had forgotten. It happens. I locked it and moved on. The next morning, I noticed something else. The kitchen cabinet above the sink was open. It was a small thing, but I remembered closing it the night before. I stood there for a few seconds, trying to convince myself I was just tired. Then I noticed the dog food container. The lid was slightly open. My dog never touched it because it was kept on a high shelf. I started feeling uneasy, but I still didn't think someone had been inside. I thought maybe my mind was creating a problem where there wasn't one. That changed later that evening. I got home around 6 p.m. As soon as I opened the front door, my dog ran past me and stopped in the hallway. He wasn't excited. He was staring upstairs. His body was completely still. Then he started growling. I had never heard him growl like that before. I grabbed a flashlight and slowly walked upstairs. I checked every room. The bedrooms were empty. The bathroom was empty. The closets were empty. Nothing. I laughed at myself afterward because I felt ridiculous. I was searching my own house like someone was hiding there. But before I went back downstairs, I noticed something. The window in my bedroom was open, not wide, just a few inches. I knew I hadn't opened it. I closed it, locked it, and told myself there was probably a simple explanation. That night, I didn't sleep well. Around 3 a.m., I woke up. At first, I didn't know why. Then I heard it. A sound downstairs. A quiet movement, like someone trying not to make noise. My first thought was that my dog was walking around. But then I heard another sound, a drawer opening. I froze. I grabbed my phone and quietly stepped into the hallway. My bedroom door was slightly open. I looked down the stairs. The house was completely dark. I couldn't see anyone. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then I heard footsteps, slow footsteps. Someone was walking through my kitchen. I immediately locked myself in my bedroom and called the police. I didn't make a sound. I didn't turn on the lights. I just sat there waiting. About 10 minutes later, I heard sirens. The police searched the house. At first, they found nothing. Then one officer went into the basement. A few minutes later, he called the others over. There was a small storage area behind some boxes. Hidden behind them was a sleeping bag, a few empty food packages, a bottle of water, and an old jacket. Someone had been staying there, not for one night, probably for several days. The worst part was that they found signs. The person had been moving around the house while I was gone. The unlocked door, the open cabinets, the window. None of those things were random. Someone had been testing how much they could do without me noticing. The police never found out exactly who it was. There were no clear fingerprints, no cameras nearby, no witnesses. But they believed the person had been watching the house before entering. I moved out a few months later. Even now, whenever I stay somewhere alone, I check every room before going to sleep. Not because I'm afraid of the dark, but because I know something much scarier. Sometimes, when you think you're alone, you're only alone because someone wants you to think you are. I never used to understand why people check their doors multiple times before going to sleep. I thought it was just anxiety. Then one night, while I was home alone, someone spent almost an hour trying to get inside my house. This happened when I was 23 years old. I had recently moved into a small rental house in a quiet neighborhood. The house wasn't perfect, but I liked it because it was cheap, and it gave me some privacy. Most of my neighbors were older couples, and the street was usually silent after 9 p.m. I lived alone, but I never felt unsafe. At least, not until one Friday night. It was around 11:30 p.m. I was watching TV in my living room when I heard a knock on the front door. Not a loud knock, just 2 slow taps. I immediately thought it was strange because nobody I knew would visit that late without calling first. I looked through the window beside the door. There was a man standing on my porch. He looked like he was in his 40s. He wasn't doing anything threatening. He was just standing there. I opened the door slightly, but kept the chain locked. The man looked surprised when he saw me. He said, "Sorry to bother you. I think my car broke down nearby. Could I use your phone?" I remember thinking it was a strange request. Almost everyone has a phone now. I told him I couldn't help and that he should call roadside assistance. He stared at me for a few seconds. Then he smiled and said, "Yeah, you're right." He walked away. At that moment, I felt relieved. I thought the situation was over. It wasn't. About 10 minutes later, I heard another knock. Same person, same slow 2 knocks. This time I didn't answer. I stood quietly near the hallway and watched through the window. The man wasn't looking at the door. He was looking around the yard, checking the windows, looking toward the driveway. That was when I stopped thinking he needed help. Something felt wrong. I turned off all the lights and moved away from the windows. A few minutes passed. Then I heard something that made my stomach drop. The front door handle moved. Someone was trying it. Slowly, not aggressively. Like they were checking if it was unlocked. I grabbed my phone and called the police. While I waited, I stayed completely silent. The man walked around the house. I heard footsteps on the wooden porch. Then footsteps near the side window. Then the back door. Every few seconds, I heard the handle move. He wasn't trying to break in. He was testing, waiting, seeing if there was an easy way inside. The police dispatcher told me to stay away from doors and windows. I went into my bedroom, locked the door, and waited. Then I heard something I still think about today. A knock, not on the front door, on my bedroom window. 3 slow taps. I froze. My bedroom was on the side of the house. There was no reason anyone should be there. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. After a few seconds, the knocking stopped. Then I heard footsteps moving away. About 5 minutes later, police arrived. The man was gone. Officers searched the area but couldn't find him. However, they did find something that made the situation much worse. Near the side of my house, underneath the bedroom window, they found fresh footprints. The person had been standing there, right outside where I was hiding. The next morning, I spoke with my landlord. That was when I learned something important. A previous tenant had complained about someone walking around the property at night. The complaint was ignored because nobody ever caught anyone. The landlord also told me something else. A few weeks earlier, someone had been asking neighbors questions about who lived in the house, who came home late, who lived alone. At the time, nobody thought anything of it. After that night, I installed cameras, better locks, and motion lights around the property. I never found out who that man was. I never learned what he wanted. Maybe he was looking for an easy opportunity. Maybe he was just testing houses until he found one that was unlocked. But one thing still bothers me. When he first knocked on my door, he already knew I was home. He knew someone was inside, and he still tried the handle anyway. That was the moment I realized something. A locked door is supposed to make you feel safe. But sometimes, the scariest part isn't someone getting inside. It's knowing someone is standing outside, waiting for you to make a mistake.